Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, you are welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by, and do not forget to subscribe, like this video, comment if you have any questions. If you have any comments, please leave them down below for me, and I will read everything and answer all the questions you will have. So today we are making Tuo Zaafi, aka Diehuo, aka TZ. So if you are craving this and you came here to watch how to make it, then you are at the right place. So I will introduce the ingredients that I have here. I have palm oil. This is Zomi. Zomi tastes good, so I prefer that one. And if you want to use vegetable oil, that is fine, but palm oil is always the best. And then I have tin tomatoes. This is whole tomatoes in a tin. I also will be using fresh tomatoes. And then I have 2 medium chopped onions. I also have scotch bonnet peppers. I have garlic. I also have a piece of ginger here, which I will be adding to it. I also have smoked salmon or smoked mackerel, which I have deboned and divided them into the shapes that the sizes that I want. And I also have fresh beef. I also have tribe, that is cow tribe. Yeah, Yemuadie, aka Yemadie. Yes, just in case you want to know. As I also have Dawadawa and a little bit of momone, which is fermented cured fish, and Locust beans. Sometimes, yes, you can just go ahead and use just one of it, especially the Dawadawa, but I prefer to use both because it takes the flavor to another level. And so yes, it's totally optional. You can just use the Locust beans, that is fine, the Dawadawa. And here I have my okro or okra, which I have deseeded, taking away all the seeds. I will show how I remove the seeds from it. I have the reason why I remove the seeds is that because the seeds are white, if I add it to the soup, it will kind of turn the soup to a palish color, which I do not like. That is why I've taken it out. And this is chopped Molokhia, which is the Ayoyo leaves, but this is frozen. This is what we use here. If you're in Ghana, you can just get the fresh ones, and you don't have to add the okro because it will make it slimy. But because this is frozen, you don't get the sliminess, and that is why I am incorporating the okra to give it that sliminess that I want. And so you can find this at most African stores or African market. And yeah, usually it will have the name as jute leaves on it, but it's still the same thing. And then I have 2 stock cubes. You can use any of them which you prefer. Salt to taste, and also smoked herrings, which I have pounded. I have a video of it, so you can take a look. Smoked herrings. In Ghana, you can ask, if you're in Ghana, you can ask for it. It's nsesaawa. And so yeah, this works fine for me. I also have white corn flour, which I'll be using, and you can find this in most grocery stores. And yes, bear in mind it is white corn flour. Do not buy cornstarch, it's corn flour. And also you would need cassava flour, which is Konkonte, which is sold in most African stores, and in Ghana it's very common. So you can find this. You can also find a lot of YouTube videos on how to make it yourself if you cannot find one in the market. And so yeah, these are my ingredients that I've shared with you. So without further ado, let's get started. So here I am showing how I deseeded the okra. So I just cut it straight into it like this, that is horizontally, and then I will cut the side and side of the inside because I just want to get rid of all the white stuff, including the white core and the seeds out of it. So I'm left with only the green part, which will make my soup more green. If I add the seeds, like I said, my soup will not be that green as I want. So I'm just showing you how to take the seeds out of it. Just be careful with your hands. You can use your cutting board to do this, which is much safer. Yeah, so just cut the side and side of it just the way I'm doing it, and then sweep the seeds out of it. Then you will be left with the green part, just as you can see in the video. It takes a bit of time, so you can prep it ahead. So here I am putting my ginger, garlic, and a little bit of the onions into a blender, which I will be using to steam my meat. Yes, so I'm just taking a portion of the onions that I cut, just the quantity that will be enough for me, and then I will blend it to steam my meat and the tripe. So here I have my meat and my tripe in a pan, and I'm adding salt to it. I'll also be adding my stock, one of the stock cube to it as well. Yes. And then once I add the stock to it, I would then put in my blended onion, garlic, and ginger to it. So I'll give it a quick rinse. I'll give my blender a quick rinse and then add it to it and bring it to a boil. And then in a different pan, I will add my Zomi palm oil. And yeah, I'll just use the amount that is okay for me. You just have to look at the quantity you are using, and then you can use the amount of oil you want. I would let it heat up, and then in a blender I will add a little bit of the onions, tomatoes, and one of the scotch bonnet pepper. I'm only adding one because my kids love Diehuo a lot and I don't want the heat in it, and so I will just add one. Then once my oil heats up, I will add the blended ingredients into it. This is to start my stew. Yes. And so, yeah, I will give it a quick stir and then allow it to cook. While it is cooking, I will blend my tin tomatoes and I will add it whilst my stew starts to cook. And so here I'm just checking on the stew, and I give it a quick stir, and I will be adding the blended tin tomatoes to it as well. While it is cooking, I will check on my meat, which is boiling nicely. It takes time with the meat because you wouldn't want your meat to be too hard in your stew, so you have to give it a little time to soften and cook. I cooked mine for about 45 to about an hour. Yes, so I'm checking up on my stew again, and it is cooking well, nicely. And at this point I haven't added I just wanted to cook a little bit before I add the tomatoes to it, the tin tomatoes. So at this point, as you can see, I have added the blended tin tomatoes. I'm giving it a quick stir, and then I will cover it again to cook. The stew takes some time, so yeah, that is why it's always important to start that first. And then, yes, at this point, my meat is almost ready. I am taking them out. You can add the meat to your stew right away, but I like to fry it. I like the brownness and crunchiness of it, and so I'm frying it in my oil. And yeah, I heated some oil and just frying it in there so that I can have like fried meat in my stew. So you don't have to fry the tripe, just the meat. So I have the tripe and the stock still in my pan, which I'll be adding to the stew just as it is. So I am checking on my stew now, and it's been cooking well. It has reduced in size, and so oil has started to form on it, and this shows that it is almost ready. And so I'm also checking on my fried meat, which is also doing good, and I'm trying to turn them around so that the other parts can fry. So at this point my meat is looking good. It's looking, once it turns brown, you can take it out of the oil. It doesn't have to be too crunchy. And so yes, so now that my stew is almost ready, as you can see, I will then add my fried beef into the stew so that it can suck in all the sauces and the goodness in it. You know what I mean. Yeah. And so at this point I'm adding my stock and my tripe so that it would all. So once the tripe and the stock is added, I will give it a really good stir so that everything will be well mixed and incorporated. So yeah, I'll give it a very good mix. Yes, so I hope you are enjoying this video so much. And at this point, yes, if you have stuck with me till this point, I would encourage you to give your girl a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe. So at this point, what you would do is to check on the salt when you add the stock. Because the stock already has some salt in it, you have to check for salt first. If there is the need for you to add more, then you can go ahead and add. So I tasted mine and it needed a little bit of salt, so I added that to it and added my additional stock that I had to it. And so I would let it sit, I'll cover it and let it cook. So after about 20 minutes of cooking, I checked on it and it is almost ready. So at this point, I'll add the smoked mackerel and then the chopped onions to it. The onions are optional. I just like it inside the stew when it's almost ready. I prefer it that way, but if you don't like to bite into onions, yeah, that is fine. You can take that out. So I have added the mackerel and I'm giving it a good mix so that everything, a good stir so that everything can be mixed very well. And so yes, that is how it goes. It's looking all good and looking very appetizing. And so yeah, give it a good stir. Yeah, and then yeah, you can then cover it and let it simmer a little bit because at this point it is ready. So yeah, as you can see, after I let it simmer for about 7 minutes, it is ready. So I'll add the additional 2 bonnet scotch bonnet peppers that I had. I will add them to it. This is just for me because I like it hot and spicy. And so once I serve mine, I can put one on it just to enjoy, because the kids cannot enjoy the spiciness. Yeah, so Yeah, if you prefer it this way, you can do it that way, or maybe you can wait. Well, when you finish, you can grind a little bit of pepper and enjoy. So the stew is done. We are moving on to the ayoyo soup. So in a pan, I've added about 5 cups of water, and yeah, this is what I'm adding to it here is Ekawn. This is how it looks like. I'm adding that to it, and I have melted it. So what I have in the bowl is the Ekawn that I've melted and strained, so that the Ekawn, usually if you just leave it that in the soup, you will have some sandy kind of feel in your soup, which you wouldn't like. So I have just dissolved it and strained it. So that is what I'm adding to the water on the fire. Yes, so that is how it is. It is recommended that you dissolve and strain. So at this point, I'm adding my fish, the smoked fish that I pounded. I'm adding it to the water. I will also add my Dawadawa and the momone to it at this point. Yeah, so that I will bring everything to a boil. Yes, and the English name of the account is saltpeter. So just in case you want to know, yeah, but if you're in Ghana, once you say account, everybody will know. If you say it in the market, they would know which one you are talking about. And so I gave it a quick stir and I will bring it to a boil. So whilst it is boiling, it is on the fire to boil, I will then blend my okra. So I'll use the pulse button on my blender just to shred it the way I want it. Not too fine, but then you don't want it to be chunky, because remember, we are trying to hide it in the soup, in the ayoyo soup. So yeah, I have used my pause button, and at this point the water is boiling and I've added the ayoyo soup and the okra to my boiling water. So at this point, this is how I will stir it, and just to get everything mixed together and incorporated. Usually what I did was I thawed the ayoyo leaves. I thawed it. You can leave it frozen, but just that when you put it in your soup, it takes time to dissolve, or it takes time to melt. So I like to thaw it, and then once I add it to my soup, it's easy and faster to mix together. So yeah, I'll keep stirring until I feel like everything is well mixed and incorporated and looking good. As you can see, my ayoyo and my locust beans and the momone is all incorporated and looking very, very good. Yes, so I hope at this point I've given you enough motivation to prepare your own Tuo Zaafi. So the soup is ready. I have put in it off, and we are starting with our tuo itself. So for the tuo, I will put some water in a pan, about, yeah, I'll say about 5 cups of water or 6 depending on the quantity, and then bring it to a boil. So whilst it is boiling, I will then mix some of the corn flour. This is about 2 cups. I'll mix it up because for the tuo you would need porridge as the base. You would need to start off with the porridge, and so I'm mixing this corn flour with water just to prepare that porridge for my tuo base. So here I am mixing it very well. Usually if you can use your hand, it's faster. Yeah, so you would have to mix it until there are no lumps in it. The reason why you wouldn't want to leave any lumps in it is if there are lumps, your tuo will become lumpy, because your porridge will be lumpy and the tuo will end up being lumpy. So once you're mixing, you have to make sure that everything it's smooth, there are no lumps in it. And if it's thicker, you can add water to it just to make it lighter. And so yeah, so you just have to keep checking on it. The mixture would have to be light. Yeah, it doesn't have to be too thick before you add it into the boiling water. Yeah, so if you can see the consistency, yeah, that is how you would want it to be before you add it to your water. So at this point, my water is boiling, and so it's time for me to make my porridge. And so yeah, so once I put in my stick that I'm using, or my spatula, I don't know how to call it, but then yeah, you would have to mix it in the same direction, so that, as you can see, I'm going on the same direction, so that you don't end up having lumps. And once you are doing this, you are pouring with one hand and stirring with the other. You have to be fast about it, because once you slow down, it's going to be lumpy. Diehuo, it's a bit tricky, so yeah, you just have to master it. Yes, so you have to keep stirring at this point, and if it's too thick, feel free to add water to it just to make it lighter, because even once it cooks, it will be a bit thicker again. So make sure that it's a bit lighter, like porridge consistency. That's how I'll say it. And then yeah, as you can see, I added a bit of water because it was thick for me. So you would keep stirring and making sure that there are no lumps in it. Even if there are lumps, that is fine. If it's your first try and there's lumps, don't worry. During the making of the tuo, you can beat it very well to the pan just to loosen up all the lumps in it. Yeah, so don't worry if you try it and it's lumpy. Don't think that your tuo will not be nice. That is fine. It will be your first try, so you can do it again. So at this point, I like the consistency, and then I would then cover it and bring it to a boil. Once you cover it, you just have to watch it, because if it's boiling, it can roll over. So you just have to keep an eye on it. So in a different bowl, I am mixing the Konkonte and the corn flour. So here, usually with me, I would let the Konkonte be more than the corn flour, because I want my Tuo Zaafi to be soft. If you want it hard, then you would do vice versa. The corn flour will be more than the Konkonte. So I use 2 cups of the Konkonte, 2.5 cup of the Konkonte, and I used a cup of the corn flour. Alternatively, you can, if you want it hard, then you would do vice versa. But usually I like it soft, so that is why I am mixing it that way. So now that the porridge is boiling, it's time for us to do the tuo itself. So I am fetching some of the porridge into a bowl. I'll fetch about half of it and set it aside. Yeah, because we would need to add that later. And so, and with that, this way it also gives you space in the bowl to be able to add your powdered the corn flour and the Konkonte. So here, if you have someone at home who could help, they could help fetch it on it for you. If you don't have anyone, then you would have to do it yourself. You will use one hand to stir in the same direction, and then once you're stirring, you are scooping your powder into the porridge. At this point, you have to be fast about it. Lower your heat if you have to, and then keep stirring in one direction. You cannot turn your hand at this time. It has to be in the same direction until everything is mixed. Then you can turn. The reason is that if you don't do it in the same direction and you keep turning it left and right, you would end up with lumps in your TZ. And so that is the reason why, if you can see, I'm turning as up till now, I'm still turning at the same direction. So now that everything is well mixed, I can then start beating it to my pan. So you have to keep beating and beating. And the reason why you have to do this is to get it smooth, get all the lumps out of it. So you would keep beating and beating and beating. I know the process of Tuo Zaafi is not easy, but once you get your hands on, it will be quicker. You would always want to prepare this. So keep on beating and beating it to your pan. At this point, if you can see, I'm beating it faster. You can hear the sound. I know you cannot hear the sound, but you have to beat it till you hear the pa 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 sound. Yes. And so once everything is all mixed, I will then add half of my porridge that I set aside. I will add it to it. At this point, I'm still keep beating and beating. And then once everything is all well incorporated, I will then add half of the porridge to it. Yeah, for the mess on your stove, it will always happen. So don't worry. Once you are done, you can clean your stove. Yes, if you have a way of preventing it, then that's fine. In Ghana, it's always easier because of the way um, they do their tour. It's different, but here we have to hold the pan and then do it on the stove, which is hard to do, but yes, we still have to enjoy our Ghanaian food. So I had to go and pick my oven mitts to wear because my pan was hot. Unfortunately, I did not have a big bowl that has a long handle to hold on to it. So I had to use my normal pan to do this. And so I had to wear my oven mitts just to hold the pan in place. So at this point, I have added the half of the porridge that I set aside, and I am mixing everything together. And the reason why I'm doing this is you would want to mix half of it first and then check if you like the texture and consistency of your tuo before you wouldn't want to add everything because it might be too soft for you. But one thing about tuo is sometimes you don't have to check the softness of it on fire because once you mold everything and put it aside and it cools down, it's gonna harden up. So the consistency you would want is like custard. Yeah, very soft. Yes, because once you mold it and it cools down, it's going to harden up. So it has to be almost like porridge, not too soft like porridge, but like I said, like custard, right? So that once it cools down, it will not be too hard for you. Yes, so at this point, I've added the remaining porridge because I still felt mine was still hard. So I have added the remaining porridge and I will stir everything together again just to make sure that everything is mixed. All the porridge is mixed into the tuo, and I will be beating it to the pan as well. Tuo is all about beating it to your pan. So I'll mix and then beat it to my pan. So whilst I finished the video, I realized that my pan was almost like half sitting on my stove, but yeah, I still worked for me. The element that my pan was on is big, so I still had fire all over my pan. So yeah, that is fine. So at this point, my tuo is almost ready. Everything is mixed. I like the texture, if as you can see, very soft. I like it that way. It looks good, and yeah. So at this point, I will be molding them into the desired shapes that I want. So here I am using a seal wrap, clinch foil to wrap them. If you don't want to use any plastic with your food, yeah, that is fine. You can just put them in a bowl, and once it cools down, you can transfer to a food warmer. Yes, that is fine. But with mine, I would be, yeah, I cannot eat everything right away, which I'll be saving some in the fridge. So this food wrap comes in handy. It is food safe, so I can use it. So I have a bowl, almost like a flat bowl, and then I have taken some of the seal wrap and laid it into the bowl. And then I have that cup that I'll be using to scoop. So it's like a half cup. That's, you can have 1 cup, just that one, and then you wet it into the water. You kind of wet it so that the tuo doesn't stick in it, and then you can scoop. So for me, I did 2 scoops into the clinch foil, and then I have folded it there. So here I'm demonstrating how I did it. I scoop it into it, and then I fold the side, overlapping it on each other, and then on the other side I would overlap just to seal it, and there's nothing or no tuo spilling out of it. And this way you can put them aside until you are done with all the rest. So voila, the Tuo Zaafi is ready, the stew is ready, and the Ayoyo soup is also ready. Looking all good and appetizing. Thank you so much for sticking with me till the end. And yes, looks all good. The ayoyo is looking good, just the green that I wanted. And so at this point, we will be serving it. I have my bowl here. I will then take 2 of the Tuo Zaafi and then unwrap it and put them in my bowl. And yes, I'll be eating this, not just me, but yes, Tuo Zaafi you can eat and eat. So I'll be enjoying this with my husband. So I have 2 of it in the bowl, and then I will add my Ayoyo soup on top. That is how we serve it. The tuo goes first, and then Ayoyo soup all over the tuo to make it look, yes, the authentic Ghana tuo. And even if you go out to buy it in Ghana, this is exactly how they serve it. So I will put my ayoyo on top of my tuo, and then I will then put my stew on it. It's looking all good, and I know I am whetting your appetite, so just grab a pen or screenshot the ingredients in the description section below. Go and get your ingredients and get cooking. And Don't forget to leave me comments and let me know if you have any question regarding this. I will be glad to answer all your questions. So here I am putting on my stew. Yeah, with the meat, you would want to put every portion of it. The fish, the beef, the tripe, just to enjoy it. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you give this video a thumbs up. Share this video to a friend to give this recipe a try. And yes, don't forget to subscribe for more amazing cooking and lifestyle video. So as you can see, the Diehuo is looking all good. Come over and let us enjoy this together. Thank you so much for sticking by, and God bless you. Bye now, and see you soon in my next video.